Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters. I'm your host, Mitch. Glad to have you here. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about Commander on a budget. Today we have an episode of Commander's 2 Cents. On episodes like these, I give you my own personal take on topics about the format in general and current news. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. And while you're at it, subscribe and review our podcast as well. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about silver bordered commanders to build around and play. Now, silver bordered cards come from unsets such as the recent Unsanctioned. So just a quick disclaimer before we jump too far into things. Silver bordered cards are not legal in Commander. None of the commanders I'm going to be bringing up are actual legal Commander options. That doesn't mean that you can't build around them and play with them though, as long as it's okay with your playgroup. So before you decide to build and buy the deck, make sure you have that discussion with your playgroup first. Commander is a social format, so just talk. If they're okay with it, then go for it. And if they're not, that's okay too. Alright, with that out of the way though, let's go over some silver bordered commanders. So the first silver border commander that I'm going to be going over today is X. Before I jump into this one though, I just want to give a quick thank you to Ryan. Not too long ago, I played against Ryan's X deck and it was a lot of fun. And that was actually the inspiration for this episode, so again, thank you Ryan. Alright, now let's actually get into X. So X is a 2/2 human spy that costs blue-black. This next part can be kind of confusing and quite tricky, but I'll break it down for you. It says as long as X is in X's owner's opponent's hand, X's owner may cast X and activate X's abilities. That opponent can't cast X and plays with their hand revealed. So basically when it's in your opponent's hand, you can activate X's abilities and you can cast X. Your opponent can't cast X and they have to play with their hand revealed. By paying blue-black and tapping it, you can put X into target opponent's hand. And by paying 3 blue-black, you can play a card in the same hand as X without paying its mana cost. So basically, you get X onto the field, use its ability to put it in opponent's hand, and then you can cast cards from that player's hand. It's kind of like a send triplets-ish commander. You get into someone's hand, it can be hard for them to get rid of, and you can start casting their cards. They can't cast X, but they can discard it, so you have to work around that. So you're going to want to run things that give everyone no maximum hand size. This commander can be a ton of fun and can lead some really interesting games where you're casting your opponent's things. But make sure that you pick and choose the right player when you put it into someone's hand. So you may also want to include some cards where you can actually see your opponent's hand ahead of time. Definitely a very unique commander though. Alright, next up we've got Phoebe, Head of Sneak. Phoebe is a 2/3 human spy that costs 1 blue-black. She has Phoebe, Head of Sneak can't be blocked by creatures with flavor text. And then by paying 2 blue-black, Phoebe permanently steals target creature's text box. Not being able to be blocked by creatures with flavor text is pretty unique and funny. And by being able to steal a creature's text box, you're essentially getting all their abilities. And in turn, you're also turning that creature into a vanilla creature. Turning someone's commander into a vanilla creature can be absolutely detrimental to some decks. And turning Phoebe into a hodgepodge of abilities and effects can be pretty fun. Next up there's Griselda, Monster Masher, which is a 4/4 zombie villain that costs 3 black-red. She has combined, enchanted, and equipped creatures you control have menace. And then by paying 3 black-red and tapping her, you put 2 target creature cards from graveyards onto the battlefield combined into 1 creature under your control. So its power is equal to their total power, toughness equal to the total toughness, and it has their names, mana cost, types, text boxes, etc. This commander seems like it can do some pretty powerful and fun things. Basically, taking and combining and mashing together 2 creatures from any graveyards is pretty cool. Mill effects and discard effects could probably come in huge for a deck like this. And then there's Baron Von Count, which is a 3/3 human villain for 1 black-red. Baron Von Count enters the battlefield with a Doom counter on 5. Whenever you cast a spell with the indicated numeral in its mana cost, text box, power, or toughness, move the Doom counter down 1 numeral to the left. When the Doom counter moves to 1, destroy target player and put that Doom counter on 5. This is a pretty cool and unique commander that kills in a very different way. My immediate thought with how you want to build this deck is that you want some creatures that have a ton of different numbers on them. If they've got different numbers between 1 and 5 in their mana cost, text box, power, toughness, it's going to be more effective. It seems like a pretty cool challenge to build a deck that can kill all of your opponents with this. But up next we've got the Big Idea. The Big Idea is a 4/4 Brainiac villain that costs 4 red. It has pay 2 Rakdos and tap it, roll a 6-sided die, create a number of 1/1 red Brainiac creature tokens equal to the result. And then you can tap 3 untapped Brainiacs you control, and the next time you'd roll a 6-sided die, instead roll 2 6-sided dice and use the total of those results. This seems like it can get out of hand very quickly. The more Brainiac creature tokens that you have, the more that you can tap to roll more dice. The more dice that you're rolling, the more Brainiacs that you get, and so on and so forth. It probably wouldn't take long for the entire battlefield to just be filled with Brainiac tokens. So with this commander especially, make sure that you come prepared with a lot of tokens and a lot of dice. Up next, there's the Surgeon Commander. Let's go over this actual card first, and then I've got 2 quick notes on it. It's a 3/3 Wombat Bat Chameleon that costs 3 and a green. It says whenever you augment, enchant, or mutate a creature you control, draw a card, and it can tap for any color. So first note, technically enchant is going to be the only one that you can actually use this with unless the playgroup is also willing to let you use other silver bordered cards. To my knowledge, both augment and mutate are both just silver bordered mechanics. And the second note for this one is that there is a pig in the background, and even though it's not being pointed to, it's still pretty cool. Anyways, if you want to build around this commander, obviously a ton of auras could work really well with it. The more times you enchant creatures, the more cards that you draw, and so on and so forth. Just remember that this only applies when you enchant a creature that you control and not your opponents. But again, if you want to work with augment and mutate too, just talk to your playgroup ahead of time. But now let's move on to Pippa, Duchess of Dice. She's a 2/2 human noble that costs 2 and a green. She has pay 2 and a green and tap her, roll a 6-sided die. It becomes a green die creature token with power and toughness equal to the result. And then by paying 2 and a blue, you can re-roll any die. Untapping effects could be really effective with this one to help you create your die army. You could also re-roll a die for a combat trick too. That ability says activate this ability only anytime it makes sense, and in my mind, it makes sense then. So again, much like the big idea, come prepared with a lot of dice. Next up, we've got Stet Draconic Proofreader. It's a 4/4 Dragon Bureaucrat with flying that costs 4 red. It has whenever it attacks, you may exile a card from your graveyard. When you do, Stet Draconic Proofreader deals 4 damage to any target whose name begins with the same letter as the exiled card. By paying white, you can delete the first letter of target permanent or player's name until end of turn. Honestly, I have no idea how I'd go about building this deck. I guess if you consistently play with a certain playgroup, you know their names. So you can try to pick and choose those cards based on their letters accordingly. As for the creatures and how to target them, no idea. Just make sure you can generate a ton of white mana so you've got some options. And then we've got a Cornelia, Fashionable Filcher. She's a 3/3 squirrel that costs 3 and a black. She has whenever you cast a spell with a squirrel in its art, you get an acorn counter. Whenever a squirrel you control enters the battlefield or dies, you get an acorn counter. And then pay 2 and a black and play X acorns, target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. And then green, pay X acorns, target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn. So with this, you obviously want to run a ton of squirrels and spells that have squirrels in the art. The more squirrels, the more acorn counters you get, and the more that you can pay into X. For those of you that always wanted to build Squirrel Tribal, now's your chance. Yes, I'm talking to you, Rob. But now let's move on to Circadian Night Owl. It's a 4/4 Bird Knight with Night Lifelink that costs 3 white. Now, Night Lifelink means that damage dealt by knights you control also causes you to gain that much life. So essentially, lifelink for your knights. By paying a white, Circadian Night Owl gains vigilance until end of turn, but you can only activate this ability from sunrise to sunset. And then by paying a black, it gains flying until end of turn, but you can only activate this ability from sunset to sunrise. So depending on the time of the day, you can either give it vigilance or lifelink. Things can start to get really hairy if you start your game at dusk. But up next, we've got Alexander Clamilton. I'm a terrible singer. Anyways, Alexander Clamilton is a 0/4 Clamfolk Advisor Rebel that costs 2 and a blue. It says whenever you cast a wordy spell, scry 2, and a spell that is wordy has to have 4 or more lines of rules text. By paying 1 in a red and tapping it, you choose target creature you don't control, you reveal the top card of your library. Alexander Clamilton gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of lines of rules text of the reveal card. Alexander Clamilton fights that creature. So with this type of deck, you want to run a ton of wordy cards as well as other ways to set the top of your library. But next up, we've got Frankie Peanuts. Frankie is a 2/3 elephant rogue that costs 2 white. It has at the beginning of your upkeep, you may ask target player a yes or no question. If you do, that player answers the question truthfully and abides by that answer if able until end of turn. To be honest, I really don't even know where to start with where to build this deck. Anyways, moving on, then there's Jalem Grifter. It's a 3/5 devil that costs 3 red. By paying 1 in a red and tapping it, you shuffle Jalem Grifter and 2 lands you control face down. Target opponent chooses one of those cards, you turn the cards face up. If they choose Jalem Grifter, sacrifice it, otherwise destroy target permanent. So essentially it's a game of do you have faster hands or do they have faster eyes? And the final Silver War commander I'm going to go over is Timmy Power Gamer. It's a 1/1 human gamer that costs 2 green. By paying 4, you can put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Basically just play a ton of big creatures in your deck and get them out for cheap. Now, I did say final, but there are actually still some left. Because of one reason or another, you might want to consider not building with these. First up, there's Johnny Combo Player, which is probably a bit too strong because you can easily combo off as soon as it comes out because you can just search your library for a ton of cards. Next up, there's Spike Tournament Grinder, which requires you to have a wish board, which technically isn't legal in Commander, and also, if you do have a wish board, it's going to be way too powerful. Even deadlier, though, is probably the Creator of Magic with Richard Garfield, PhD. Essentially, this card lets you play other cards as though they were other cards of your choice with the same mana cost, but you can't choose the same card twice. I would assume you could easily combo off the second this comes out. The next one is Dr. Julius Jumblemorph, which you just need to allow a lot more silver bordered cards to actually make it work. It includes hosts and augments, and again, if your group's okay with that, then great, go for it. Next up, there's Old Buzzbark, which requires you to drop dice from a certain height, and cards like Chaos Orb are banned because of similar effects. And the final one is Mario Kill, which pretty much requires you to have a ton of kill bots, and there's only 4 of them with different names, and it's a singleton format, so yeah, whatever. Anyways, again, with any of these silver bordered commanders, make sure that you ask your playgroup first. If they're okay with you building around one, go for it. If not, that's okay too. Commander's a social format, so just talk. And with that, this show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your favorite silver bordered commander is. And make sure you're following us on social media for more updates and sneak peeks on future episodes. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons who help make this show possible. I truly couldn't do any of this without your support. If you want to support this channel directly, consider becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, including being able to vote on future commanders for deck techs. There are even tiers where you get your own personalized deck tech dedicated to you. You can check out all the Patreon tiers and rewards at patreon.com/commandersquarters. If you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about budget commander. So while you're at it, go ahead and check out some of our other types of episodes. And with that, I'm out of here. Thanks again, and have a good one.